There's a lot of themes in today's readings. Maybe one theme that kind of stuck with me, if you give me a little latitude, is better content equals better life. Better content equals better life. Physically, what we put in our bodies, what we eat, our activity levels can help with a better life. Same thing spiritually. What are we ingesting spiritually in our lives? What's our content that we're ingesting? And I think we have this powerful question posed by Jesus. Who do you say Jesus is? That content can really change our outlook and our lives. Who do we say Jesus is? First reading is really, you could say, who is God for Shebna and Eliakim? All right? That's the question. Shebna, again, kind of think of him as like a second in command in the court of King Hezekiah in Judah, about 700 years before the time of Christ. He was abusive. He abused his power. He's supposed to help the people, but instead he's taking advantage of what he can take advantage of from just selfish, silly thinking, not realizing maybe who God is. So that's why he's going to be replaced by someone with integrity. The person with integrity is Eliakim. And you see in this passage that Eliakim receives keys. Keys, right? The keys, especially in the Old and New Testament, are symbols of authority. Eliakim has a heart of a leader, has a heart of a good shepherd. So that's why he's going to have the keys of authority. It's probably why this particular passage goes with the gospel today, because it so parallels, especially with the handing on of keys, right? You say today's gospel, chapter 16 in the Gospel of Matthew, you could say is kind of the apex, if you will, of the first half of the Gospel of Matthew. Caesarea Philippi, that's the place where they're at. I have not been to the Holy Land yet. That is on my list. When I get there, I hope I get to visit Caesarea Philippi. It's a very powerful moment from people have said to me. It's there at Caesarea Philippi that just before Jesus, decades before, it was King Herod Philip renovated the Caesarea Philippi area along Roman designs. So there's a lot of temples and buildings that worship the Roman gods, the false gods. There's a place for a multitude of gods, Roman and Greek. Okay, King Philip, Herod was showing esteem for the Roman emperor. Remember, the Roman emperor was considered not only king, but God. Okay, so this is where Jesus asks appropriately very powerful questions to his disciples. All right, King Philip, Herod had esteem for the Roman Caesar. What kind of esteem do people have for Jesus? What do people say Jesus is? The answers aren't bad, right? I mean, overall, you could say it's a theme of good things, right? He's a good man. He's a good prophet. Maybe John the Baptist, maybe one of the prophets like Jeremiah or Elijah. But that's not enough to understand who Jesus is. It's not enough. See, Jesus simply isn't a person from the past. Jesus isn't simply just a good memory. Right? So that's why he asks a more decisive question, maybe the content in the hearts of disciples. Who do you say that I am? Who am I for you now? See, again, Jesus doesn't want to be a key figure from the past. Jesus wants to be an important person for us today, for his disciples, and for us now. Jesus wants to be the God who's close to us, because Christ is the God of the present, alive today. Otherwise, if we tried to imitate him, we'd just fail, because he's but he's alive today. That's why it's possible to imitate Jesus. Jesus is alive. People, he lives in the church, on our altar, right? Accompanies us, is by our side, wherever we are, offering grace to guide us throughout the moments of our life. So that's why it's such a beautiful and powerful question. What kind of content is in the hearts, right? And that's why Peter's response is so amazing, right? It goes beyond any of these expectations. Jesus just isn't the herald. He's the Messiah, the Son of God. That's what Peter says. It's not just an exchange of information. This is something more deep, more personal, more profound. And Jesus admires Peter for his beautiful answer. That's why he declares Peter rock. Because Peter, like Eliakim, has integrity. He has integrity of heart. And his faith is going to serve as the foundation for the church. It's only 2 times in the Gospel of Matthew we hear the word church, and today is one of them. Okay? And Peter's entrusted with the keys, right? The keys, authority. Authority to guide the church in the kingdom of heaven. He's not perfect. He's still going to have a lot to learn, but he's got the heart right? He's got good content, right? So maybe as we go through this week, we can ask ourselves, maybe, who is Jesus for me? Right? Do we believe that Jesus is searching us out, wanting to shape us into something more special and more beautiful every day? Is Jesus someone we can trust? Who do we say Jesus is? Do I cultivate Jesus' presence through the Word, through the sacraments, right? Am I doing my best to let myself be guided by Jesus, right? Answering yes to these questions, we're kind of becoming more like Peter and less like our former selves, right? And these questions are needed when we go into the world, carrying the message of the good news, right? And that's what it's about, carrying that message. That's just desperately needed throughout, right? Sharing how God is searching us out to have our life in a relationship with all of us and growing. And we can do that, people. That's better content, right? And better content equals a better life. So may God bless you, my friends.